Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I stumbled upon a video that came in good timing. As many of you know, I'm currently cleaning out my house and preparing to sell it, which I do have a buyer, have a closing date and everything now, so I'm now on the clock to be out of the home. And I stumbled upon a video, and it's Jordan Peterson is speaking. And the title, or on the thumbnail, "No one cares about your stuff after 60. The 5 harsh truths about decluttering for seniors that no one talks about but you need to know." And I'll post the link to this video in the description. And it's almost 16 minutes long. And it really is thought-provoking. And it spoke to me, especially now with having to let go. Now, of course, I'm 52. I wouldn't consider myself a senior. But it still speaks to me as a 52-year-old and having to go through a house and sort through things that have meaning to them. You have a bit of an attachment to them. Things that belong to a family member that's no longer here. For example, here I have things that belonged to my mom, my father, things that belonged to my grandparents as well. And now having to go through this stuff and deciding what to keep and what to let go. And let me play a little bit of his video here.
You think decluttering is just about throwing things away? No.
Can you hear it?
It's about confronting the weight of your past, the story of your life written in objects, and the unbearable realization that time is moving forward, whether you like it or not. Now, people will tell you it's easy. Just let go of what you don't need, donate it, toss it, move on. But that's naive. The process of decluttering in your later years is not just a physical act, it's a psychological reckoning. And there are 5 brutal truths about it that no one wants to tell you, but you need to know them. Every item you own is more than just an object. It's a symbol, a piece of your personal history, a tangible representation of experiences, memories, and even aspects of your identity. When you look around your home, you don't just see furniture, clothes, or keepsakes. You see the story of your life reflected in these objects. And that's why decluttering in your later years isn't just about deciding what to keep and what to throw away. It's about facing the reality that certain chapters of your life are closing, and that's an incredibly difficult thing to do.
Yes. And that's the way I look at it here. The chapter here is closing. I'm sitting at a table that I ate at as a kid. And I sit here in these chairs, in this table, and all the meals that were had here as a family. And I can still see my dad sitting at one end of the table, my mother sitting at the other end of the table, and the kids. And things have some meaning to them. And I'm going through stuff, and look at this stuff here. You know, who remembers the old Corning dishes, and all the meals that were made in here? Look at this. People, does anybody still use these? This is a 5-cup sifter, flour sifter. And I can remember my sister using this. My dad using this. And my mother wasn't so much the cook. My dad taught my mom to cook, believe it or not. And then my sister loved to bake. And then all the apple crisps that were baked in this, you know, and the memories. Who remembers Velveeta cheese? This was March 16th, 1986. The old Velveeta cheese, you know. Oh, all the macaroni and cheese we made. But, I mean, this is stuff from my grandparents, from their old china. This right here. And then I'm going through old recipe books, you know. This was my grandmother's. This is dated 1933. All these recipes here. Look at this. This was my grandmother's. And all her recipes typed out, that she typed out. Look at that. All those recipes in her writing. What is that? Apple in cranberry sauce? Yeah. What is this one? Cherry desserts. Yeah. And here's some more. All these recipes throughout the years. You know, I can pull these out. I remember this stuff. As a kid, that's my mom's handwriting there. Yeah, that's my mom's handwriting. And so I'm going through this stuff. Yeah, I mean, this is all memories. It may not mean anything to you, but it means something to me. And going through this house, as you can see, I'm busy boxing it up. All the photos, all the frames. Yeah, it's all getting boxed up. No more books on the shelves got sold. Some of them got put in boxes, you know. And then who's going to want this stuff when I'm gone? You know, there's my mom and dad. There's a picture of them. Yep, that's mom, that's dad. You know, this is a painting that my mom did. You know, it's like a little panda bear she painted. You know, things like that. This is an award that was presented to my father right here. You know, do I let go of this? You know, this was presented to my dad for service above and beyond. Look at that. Yep, to Chuck. That was my dad. I just couldn't let go of it yet. But maybe I do. I gotta repack it. So this is the dilemma that I'm in. And then the things from my past, my military past, and I mean, there's my old rucksack. I still have it, you know? And so I've let go of some stuff already. And then I'm getting some stuff together for the Goodwill or for Habitat for Humanity. You know, so I'm going to be donating a lot of stuff, you know. And, oh my gosh, I've been decluttering. And it's not easy. It's not an easy thing to go through and letting go. But I tell you, listening to him speak, I found very helpful.
Think about the possessions you've accumulated over decades. The books on the shelf might remind you of the knowledge you once sought, the person you were when you first read them. The tools in the garage might tell the story of the projects you built.
Yes.
The things you fixed, the sense of competence.
Still got tools in the garage.
You once had. That old suit or dress you haven't worn in years might be tied to an important event, a wedding, a promotion, a celebration of who you were at that time. These objects don't just take up space, they hold emotional weight.
Yeah.
The struggle with decluttering is not just about physical belongings. It's about identity. When you discard an object, you are, in a way, admitting that part of your life is over. And that's terrifying. It's not just the item you're letting go of. It's the role you played, the version of yourself that once needed that object.
Right.
If you spent your life as a professional, getting rid of old work materials can feel like saying goodbye to that part of yourself.
That was difficult, going through some of my Army stuff that I got rid of. They were very useful things, very useful items, but now have no use at all, and then would mean absolutely nothing to anybody else. And I had to let go of them. I had to let go of them, and I threw them in the trash, and they went out on trash day yesterday. Yep, gone. It's gone. Stuff is gone.
If you were an artist, parting with old canvases or supplies may feel like an admission that your creative days are behind you. Even letting go of something as simple as a set of dishes can bring up unexpected emotions. Memories of family meals, gatherings, a home that was once full of laughter and conversation. This is why so many people avoid decluttering. It's not just about making decisions about what stays and what goes. It's about confronting time itself. It's about acknowledging that the life you built, the experiences you lived, are not static. They evolve, they change, and some things inevitably fade. But what many people don't realize is that holding on to everything doesn't stop time from moving forward. It only creates unnecessary burden, both physically and emotionally. The key to navigating this process is understanding that your identity is not tied to your possessions. You are not your old books, your worn-out clothes, or the souvenirs from trips taken decades ago. You are the person who experienced those moments, and that will never change, no matter what you decide to keep or discard. Your value, your wisdom, your memories, all of that exists within you, not in the objects around you. When you let go of clutter, you are not losing pieces of yourself. You are making space for the next chapter of your life to unfold with clarity and intention. Letting go of possessions isn't just a matter of deciding what you no longer need. It's an emotional battle, one that often comes with an overwhelming sense of guilt. Every item you consider discarding carries a story, some joyful, some painful, but all significant in their own way. And when you pick up an old gift, a letter, or a treasured heirloom, it's not just an object in your hands. It's a connection to someone, a reminder of a promise, a symbol of a
Yes, I found old letters from people from years ago, wrote to me or wrote to my mom or my dad. And I remember those people and their handwriting and seeing that and touching it and feeling it, letting go of that stuff. It's not easy. It's not.
Relationship that mattered. The idea of discarding it can feel like a betrayal, as if by letting go of the object, you're letting go of the person or the memory itself. This is why so many people struggle to declutter, especially in later years. There's a deep fear that by removing something from your space, you're erasing a piece of history. A gift from a deceased loved one isn't just an item. It's proof that they were once here, that they cared for you. A collection of birthday cards, even ones decades old, reminds you of the people who once celebrated you, who took the time to acknowledge your presence in their lives. Letting go of these things can feel like an act of forgetting, as if you are dismissing the importance of those relationships. But the truth is, keeping an object does not bring the past back. It does not keep a person alive. It does not preserve a moment in time. Guilt also comes in another form, the feeling that getting rid of something is wasteful or disrespectful. You might look at an expensive coat you never wore and feel guilty that you didn't use it enough. Or maybe you were raised to believe that throwing things away is irresponsible, that everything has value, and that discarding something is an insult to the resources that went into creating it. But what many people don't realize is that keeping something out of guilt doesn't add value to it. An object sitting unused in your home does not honor its purpose. It only takes up space and weighs on your mind. Another painful source of guilt comes from the idea that you might regret your decision later. You might think, what if I need this someday? What if I get rid of it and then suddenly wish I had it back? This fear of regret can be paralyzing, making it nearly impossible to part with anything. But the reality is that most of the things we cling to out of fear rarely serve us in the future. If something has been untouched for years, the chances of truly needing it again are slim. And even if you do, there are always ways to adapt, replace, or move forward without it. The key to overcoming guilt in decluttering is understanding that memories, love, and respect are not stored in objects. They are stored in you. The impact people have on your life is not diminished by letting go of the things they left behind. By releasing unnecessary possessions, you are not discarding your past. You are making room for your present and allowing yourself to live with greater freedom and peace. One of the most painful realizations when decluttering later in life is that the things you've carefully saved, hoping to pass down to your children or grandchildren, may not be wanted. For decades, you might have held on to heirlooms, furniture, books, or collectibles, believing that one day they would find a place in the next generation's home. But when that moment comes, you may be met with indifference or even outright refusal. The younger generation doesn't always share the same attachment to objects, and this can feel like a personal rejection.
Right. I've heard that before, that kids and grandkids don't want it. When somebody has passed away and there's no interest in the stuff. And then what about people like myself who don't have children to pass anything on to? You know, and then nieces and nephews aren't going to want this stuff. They have zero connection to this stuff in here, you know? And so that's the next thing. My next rationale too is, you know, let go of it, because once I'm gone, you know, who's going to want it? You know, nobody's going to want it. And it's just, as I look around, it's just stuff, and it's, you know, and a lot of it I don't even use anyway. And it's time to let go. It's time to let go and let somebody else perhaps get some use out of it. And my plan is to leave some of this furniture here in the house for this new family to enjoy. They most certainly can use it. They're a young family. They just had a baby that's not even a 3 weeks old yet. And so new memories are going to be formed in this house. I know at least 4 children are going to be running around in here, and animals and all that. So it warms my heart to know that the place is going to be utilized a lot better than the way that I can. And sitting here just brings back memories, good and bad memories. And people ask, well, why are you leaving there? I think for me too, it's just part of this process of my life of moving on. It's just closing a chapter. It's just closing it and just finding some closure. And it's what Jordan Peterson talks about, I'm struggling with now in letting go of some of these things that belong to my mom and my dad. It's like, am I, you know, dishonoring them? But it's nice to know that I'm not. And I think that's the message I want to share as well. When it comes to our things. So something that to think about. And even, you know, at my age of 52, I would much rather clean out this house, declutter, and downsize and minimalize now while I'm still healthy and able to do it. Instead of, if something would ever happen to me, leaving this to somebody else to try to sort out. And that's something I don't want to do. I don't want to do that. And for me right now, less is better. Less is better right now.
It's important to understand that this is not a reflection of your worth or the significance of your memories. Times change, and so do tastes, lifestyles, and values. Many younger people today prefer minimalism over sentimentality. They live in smaller spaces, move more frequently, and often choose functionality over nostalgia.
Absolutely.
The heavy oak dining table that was once the heart of family gatherings may be seen as an impractical burden. The collection of china you treasured might be considered outdated or too fragile for modern living. Even the photo albums, carefully arranged over the years, may not hold the same meaning
all the photo albums. I'm gonna take some time and digitally scan them. It's gonna take some work, but I think I'm gonna just, a lot of the things I've got a scanner on my home computer here, and I think I'm gonna digitally scan a lot. At least I'll have the digital copies of things in my paperwork too, and then store them on Google Drive, so that when I am traveling, I have access to my important documents, and if I need to, I can always print something out. So, but yeah, the photo albums, album after album. I didn't have the heart to throw those away. I threw them in a cardboard storage box for now.
The collection of china you treasured might be considered outdated or too fragile for modern living. Even the photo albums, carefully arranged over the years, may not hold the same meaning for those who grew up in a digital world where memories are stored on screens rather than in scrapbooks. This can be a deeply emotional experience. It might feel as though your history, your traditions, and even your identity are being dismissed. After all, these items are more than just things. They represent your life, your achievements, and your relationships. But clinging to the belief that your possessions must be cherished by the next generation can lead to unnecessary disappointment and frustration. The reality is that the true inheritance you leave behind is not in objects, but in the lessons you've taught, the love you've shared, and the wisdom you've imparted.
Did you hear that? And you'll even hear that in the Christian circles, that a parent leaves an inheritance for their children's children. It's not necessarily, if you study the scripture a little bit more, it's not about material, financial. It's what he just talked about. That's the type of inheritance you want to leave for your children's children. You know? Leaving an inheritance for your children's children. Yes. What you teach them, the values that you leave them. It's not the things or finances. No.
Instead of holding on to things out of the hope that someone will want them later, consider having honest conversations with your family now. Ask what they truly value and be prepared for answers that may surprise you. In many cases, what they cherish most isn't furniture or jewelry, but simple things. Handwritten letters, stories about their ancestors, or even a particular recipe that reminds them of home. Memories and connections are more meaningful than any physical object. If certain items are unwanted, don't let that stop you from giving them a second life elsewhere.
Right.
Many things can be donated, sold, or repurposed by someone who will genuinely appreciate them.
Right.
It's far better to release them into the world where they can be used and loved, rather than keeping them stored away out of obligation.
Right.
Holding on to possessions that no one wants does not make them more valuable. It only adds to your emotional and physical burden.
Boy, did that speak to me right there. Yep. Don't hold on to them out of obligation. I don't have to hold on to these things. I don't.
Letting go of the expectation that your family will treasure everything you leave behind is freeing. It allows you to focus on what truly matters: your relationships, your well-being, and the legacy you create through the way you live, rather than the things you own. Your value is not in your belongings. It is in the impact you have on the people around you.
There you go.
The more you own, the harder life becomes.
Yep.
This is a truth that often goes unnoticed, until the burden of possessions starts interfering with daily living. What once felt like a source of comfort, having everything you might need within reach, eventually turns into an obstacle, both physically and mentally.
And that's what this place has become here, this home. It's like an anchor. It's like it's anchoring me down. And I've actually missed a few opportunities because I was bolted down here. I couldn't go pursue those. I had job opportunities in other places around the world, even in the United States here. And I had to say no to them because of this house here. And yes, it's comfort. Yes, a lot of people say, oh, what are you selling a house for? Why are you doing that? Oh, blah, 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 blah. And I see their points, especially the way the world is and the craziness and having a place that you can survive and live. But at the same time, this place is a bit of an anchor, and it's a burden on me to maintain. And even if I'm gone in traveling, it still weighs on me, knowing that I have a house and then who's taking care of it. And even if I would rent it out, people say, oh, well, you should go rent it out. Well, it's still going to be weighing on me. I'm still responsible for the house when I'm enjoying myself in Tahiti or in, wherever. If I'm sitting somewhere in Italy and I get this text message that the hot water heater blew up. I don't want that. And see, people don't think about stuff like that. And so I'm wanting to get rid of those extra burdens and things to free me up to now I can go and recalibrate and just close this chapter here. It's over. It's done. My parents are gone. My father's gone. And I still get emotional thinking about him. And it's still fresh that he passed away in 2020, and being his caregiver full time. I moved in here to take care of him. And connecting with him and the memories, and it just keeps bringing it back. And people don't understand that. And it's like, I've got to close this. I've got to close this loop here and let go and move on and let somebody else. It's like passing the baton. You enjoy this home, and it's a young couple, and you enjoy it. It's yours now. It's yours now. It's time for me to move on and close this chapter here and open up a new one. And I just get too down and depressed, and because the memories are always in front of my face. The family things are in front of my face. Constant reminders. And I think that's part of why I'm doing this. And I hope people can understand that.
The weight of clutter doesn't just take up space in your home, it takes up space in your mind.
Yes.
Every drawer filled with old papers. Every closet packed with unused clothes. Every shelf stacked with forgotten trinkets.
Yeah.
All of it demands attention, even if only in the background. And over time, that accumulation leads to stress, exhaustion, and a sense of being trapped.
Yeah.
A cluttered home makes even the simplest tasks more difficult. Looking for an important document becomes a frustrating search through piles of papers.
Yeah.
Moving through a crowded hallway means carefully navigating around things that no longer serve a purpose. Cleaning takes longer as every surface is covered with things that need to be dusted, moved, or organized. What was once a space of comfort can start to feel like a burden, creating a constant sense of overwhelm. As people age, physical limitations also come into play. Bending down to reach the lower shelves, climbing a ladder to get something from storage, or simply maneuvering around furniture that no longer fits the space can become increasingly difficult. What once felt like sentimental treasures can slowly become hazards. Piles of books become tripping risks. Stacks of old newspapers gather dust and worsen allergies. A home that was once filled with memories begins to feel like an obstacle course. And when movement becomes restricted, independence starts to fade. But the weight of clutter is not just physical, it's psychological. Every item carries a decision. Should it stay? Should it go? What if it's needed someday? The mental load of constantly making these choices leads to decision fatigue, a sense of being overwhelmed by too many options.
Yeah.
When the environment is cluttered, so is the mind. Studies have shown that excess clutter can increase anxiety, reduce focus, and even contribute to feelings of depression.
Yeah.
A chaotic space makes it difficult to feel at peace. The brain craves order, and when it's surrounded by too much stuff, it struggles to find clarity. Letting go of unnecessary belongings is not just about tidying up, it's about reclaiming space, both physically and mentally. A home with fewer things is easier to navigate, easier to clean, and easier to enjoy. The air feels lighter, the mind feels clearer, and life becomes simpler. The idea that holding on to things provides security is an illusion.
Yep.
True security comes from the ability to move freely, to live without unnecessary burdens, and to focus on what truly matters. Decluttering is not about loss. It's about creating an environment that supports well-being, peace of mind, and a life that is easier to manage. The fewer things you have weighing you down, the more freedom you gain in return.
Amen.
Decluttering is often seen as a one-time event, something you do when you finally have the time or energy to sort through everything you've accumulated over the years.
No.
But the truth is, it's not a single project. It's an ongoing process.
Right.
One that requires constant decision-making and maintenance. The idea that you can declutter once and be done with it is an illusion, especially in a world where new things continue to enter your life, whether you intend them to or not. The reality is that if you don't actively manage what comes into your home, the clutter will return, sometimes even faster than before. One of the main reasons people struggle with maintaining a clutter-free space is that they focus only on removing things without addressing the habits that led to the accumulation in the first place.
Right.
Even if you clear out an entire room, it won't stay that way unless you change the way you interact with possessions moving forward.
Quit getting more stuff.
This means being intentional about what you bring into your life and questioning whether something truly adds value before acquiring it. It also means setting boundaries, not just with yourself, but sometimes with others who continue to give you things you don't need.
I don't want it.
Another difficult truth is that decluttering is emotionally exhausting, and that exhaustion doesn't disappear just because you've finished cleaning out a space.
Right.
Sorting through a lifetime of belongings forces you to confront memories, past decisions, and even regrets. It's mentally taxing to repeatedly ask yourself whether something should stay or go. And for many people, that fatigue leads to avoidance. This is why clutter builds up again, because dealing with it requires a level of emotional energy that people aren't always prepared to give. The only way to make it sustainable is to integrate it into your routine, rather than waiting until things pile up to an overwhelming degree. Many people also underestimate just how much time it takes to truly declutter in a meaningful way. It's not just about taking a few hours on a weekend to clean out a closet.
No.
If you've spent decades accumulating possessions, it's going to take time to go through them properly. Rushing the process often leads to regret, either from discarding things too hastily or from keeping too much because you didn't have the mental clarity to make the right decisions.
Right.
Accepting that decluttering is a long-term process allows you to approach it with more patience, making decisions with intention rather than urgency. The final challenge is accepting that even after you've decluttered, you will have to continue making decisions about your space for the rest of your life.
Right.
There is no perfect endpoint where everything is settled forever. Instead of seeing decluttering as a finish line, it's better to see it as a way of living, one where you are constantly evaluating what truly matters, letting go of what doesn't, and creating an environment that supports the life you want to live. The freedom that comes from a clutter-free space isn't a one-time reward. It's something that must be maintained day by day, choice by choice.
I thought that was great. Again, I will post that video if you care to listen to it again in the description. And the comments are wonderful too. And it's just all the people that can relate to what he said. And I'll read a couple of them here. Saying here, as an elderly man, I can say that decluttering was one of the hardest things I ever did. Not because of the objects themselves, but because of the memories tied to them. Letting go of my late wife's belongings felt like losing a piece of her all over again, but I've learned that memories don't live in things, they live in us. My advice? Keep what truly brings you joy and serves a purpose, but don't let clutter keep you trapped in the past. Boy, make space for the life you still have ahead. Look at that from an elderly man. Let's see here. I am 73 years old and have found this message extremely profound and enlightening. Look at that. Yep. Both of my parents passed in 2024 within 2 weeks of each other. They left me everything, including their house. I've slowly started the process of cleaning out their possessions. It's been very difficult, but I've decided to keep a few small items. my father's letters from his varsity days, my mom's photos, some furniture. I believe this will help me clear all of their other possessions. I hope I'm right. Love you, Mom and Dad. And I can feel that. Yeah, I get it. I'm 77. This was a talk I needed to hear so I can get my damn room clean. Thank you very much. Yep, from a 77-year-old man. Yep, and the comments are just wonderful to read, and their stories. So I wanted to share that, and it's something we have to think about. For many of you, you have folks that you can pass things on to, but you also have to realize that even if you do have somebody to pass things on to, they may not even want it anyway. And so, yeah, it's those conversations that we need to have with our loved ones on what's important to them, what's not important to them. And it's, all the memories and the emotions tied to these things. And to let go of it and walking away is not an easy thing, but something that has to be done. And you have to remind yourself, at least for me, I have to remind myself constantly, it's all just stuff anyhow. I'll save a few things, I'll put a few things in storage, but the vast majority of all this stuff is going. And I've already sold quite a bit. I've been selling a lot of things on eBay, OfferUp, and then I just signed up to the Facebook Marketplace today. And just sitting here talking, I heard the thing chime in. So probably some people inquiring about some things that I just posted on Facebook Marketplace today, and getting rid of it. And then, the tools that are out in the garage, the tractor that I can still see my father riding on, and those memories of him, and it's emotional. It's hard. And but anyway, I just wanted to share that, and something that we have to go through, something to think about. So anyway, before it gets too long, I'll go ahead and shut this off and post it. But anyway, I hope this finds you well. Let's not hang on too much to things or stuff or money or possessions. It's good to have, money's a tool. It's nice to have a roof over your head and clothes and food, of course. But at the same time, let's not hold on to this stuff so tightly, and realize that in the end, it's just stuff, and that when we get rid of some of these things, you're not getting rid of the memories. You'll always have the memories and always retain who you are as a person. And that's some information that I needed to hear, and it came in my feed on my YouTube at the right time. So somewhere in the universe, somebody knew I needed to hear that, and I found it very, very helpful. So I may end up going back through some boxes and pulling some stuff back out instead of saving it and letting go. So anyway, I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care.